So I'm up here at Dave Patel's today getting Freon put in my Studebaker. I rolled in and he's got a lovely 55 Chevy sitting over here. Isn't that pretty? He's got a pretty good looking Mustang up on the rack there. I think Dave does. I think a lot of people bring their cars over here because he does seem to mess around with old cars in a way that's it's a beautiful thing. Not a bad looking old Toyota truck in there. So we're just gonna hang out here, and he's doing a lot of stuff, my car and some other cars all at the same time. It's a pretty busy fella, but nice guy, awful nice guy. The air conditioner is working well. Now I'm saying that even though I'm still touching up a few little things, and I'll introduce you to the wiring system here. This is a tester, but I've got a shut-off valve so I can shut everything off when I'm not using it right here. I'll move this. Well, I can just show you what this tester is. It just tells me it have to be hooked to this side of that thing. It basically just shuts off the this thing here just shuts off the juice. And see, when it's working, we've got 12 and a half volts. So the hot wire goes, this is the hot wire for the air conditioner. It goes up here and it comes out through the floor. It goes into this thing. This thing is a 100 amp breaker. Now I can't wrap my mind around why or how having a 100 amp breaker on a 12 volt battery makes any sense, but they sell them, and the air conditioner said put a 100 amp breaker in there, so I did. So I was out here working on the car. I can't even remember what I was doing, and that breaker kicked off. Well, what happened is it was hot. I turned the air conditioner on, that breaker kicked off, and then I cut it back on, and it worked okay. It didn't kick off again, but that got me to thinking, well, what am I going to do if I'm on the way to the car show and that thing kicks off? Because you have to, it's a circuit breaker, and when it kicks off, it goes like that. See, that little red thing pops out, and then to reset it, you push that thing back in. So if I was going to, and it has to cool down before it'll kick back in, so I thought, well, that doesn't make sense because the wire, there's no hot wire. What I mean by hot wire is hot to the touch. See, the wire comes in here, it comes out here, and it goes into this thing, which is a inverter. It changes from 12 volt to 110, and then that runs on this wire, which is also not a huge wire, over to the compressor, which is under there. So I got to think, well, what would I do if I was going down the road and that thing kicked on? So I decided to wire a little bypass switch to a toggle switch. I put a toggle switch right here. This is the bypass switch. It just basically runs from this side to that side. It has to go through this toggle switch to cut it on and off. Somebody said, I can't remember, but I was talking, I know Bobby, he said, well, you going to burn that up? And I said, no, I don't think I'm going to burn it up if it doesn't get hot enough to even feel hot. I don't even see why that is in there, and I don't even see why it's kicking off if it's not even getting hot. So anyway, I hooked up this toggle switch. This toggle switch didn't work. Apparently it was an old one that had been in a box around here. So I went into town. I found this one, which I like it because the two connecting wires come out of the toggle switch and run down, and these run back. And I don't like those hot wires running back toward the car, although there's plenty of clearance in there. I can get my hand behind it. So, and this one's actually a lot better looking switch. It's got a kind of a pretty colorful on and off part that makes sense to me. And like I say, this one don't work. It don't even click right. Something's not right in that. So I'm going to take this off, put this one on. I'm going to insulate this piece of wire right here. Which you can buy a liquid wire insulator. Although I'm not sure what the difference is between that and some instant gasket. I kind of think instant gasket might do the same thing. And then I'm going to put this back on here, and then we'll try it with that. I also have this. This is a gauge that was on a battery charger that went bad, but I thought that's a cool looking gauge, and I'm thinking about mounting that gauge right here so that I can glance over while driving the car and see what it's showing me for volts in the battery. I just think that'd be a cool thing to have, and it would look cool, I think. So I might mount that in there too. And the other thing is, I got the tires off the front end of this. Because I had a set of tires on a set of Traeger mags in here, but the tires were not very good, and I had these tires, which are a pair of my BF Goodrich tires, and I had them mounted on these Keystone mags. Y'all may not remember, but when I bought these Keystone mags, they were aluminum, and the aluminum was all corroded, and I painted those with paint, and then I coated them with rubberized paint to make them look kind of decent, but they never was very good. So what I did was I took these into the shop, and I had my good tires. These ain't in them, that's why they don't look good. These are the good ones, and they got plenty rubber. That's the Goodrich. And I had these tires on that car when I sold it to Bill, and he apparently turned them around and mounted them backwards and painted over the white lettering. And I can't imagine why anybody would do that. But you know, he's just a little different than me in a lot of ways. And I'll tell you another thing he did, and I came back here and I got to looking at it. These back here, you see that white lettering? These are Mickey Thompson tires, which are nice tires, and he turned them around backwards so that the black side was out because he didn't want the white letters showing on them. Bill, but anyway, so at some point I'm going to take these off, flip them back around, and get the white letters showing front and back again. But in the meantime, I can go ahead and wash these, get the white letters showing, clean these up. These are not the Kragers that were on there, and they were actually in better shape than the ones that were on there as far as the chrome, but they had a few little places, like I think that's paint or gasket material, and they're got spider webs and stuff, but they don't have a lot of rust. They have a little, but not a lot, and they don't have a lot of places where the chrome's worn off. So I'm going to pull these out and clean them up after I get through working on that electric stuff on that air conditioner. And then I got my other Krager cap right there. And then another thing I got, and I just ordered these. This is a set of spring shocks, coilover spring shocks, or load leveler shocks. And I want to put them on there because I want the back end of that to be a little stiffer, like my hot rods to have a kind of a stiff stance. And this is a car that could be top heavy because it's so tall. And you know, it's like a lot of cars nowadays, the weight is distributed so it literally just about falls outside of the wheels and way down low. And this car, you know, sits up on frame that sits on top of the axles, and it's kind of tall. So I don't want it to have as much sway as it has. So I'm going to wind up taking these shocks off, putting those coil shocks on here, see if that makes it a little stiffer going down the road. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm going to stop making this video because I wanted to let you know the air conditioner is working, although I'm still tuning a few things in with it. Yeah, that's what I'm up to. Okay. So this is the kind of stuff I do. I went to town yesterday and bought that toggle switch, and then I was looking to put on that shelf. I was looking for some of that liquid insulation to put on my wires. And here's 2 more toggle switches that I bought. I don't even remember buying these, But here they are. Imagine that. Okay, so I got plenty of toggle switches to replace the one I got. What does this one say now? Oh, that's not it. That's not the switch. Here it is. Now this one says 15 amp, 12 volt, 180 watt. This one says 20 amp, A. And it don't say anything about watts. And this one says, this is a three-way. This one says 20 amp A. Yeah. I may have had those for a long time, because I can't. Well, let's see. No, I can't even imagine why I would have bought a three-way toggle for anything. But no, that's just me. You know, that's how I roll. I wind up with a lot of parts sitting on shelves. Sometimes I don't even know what I got. But if I put all this over here in my in my box of, see, this is a box of wiring that is most likely going to have what I want in it. And then that's a box of just stray wire, because when you take stuff apart, I don't throw wire away because it's expensive. So I've got 1, 2, 3 boxes of just pieces of stray wire. That box with the blue cap on there is a Spider-Man wiring box. Yeah, it's a Spider-Man lunch box that I use for wire. And it's got connections like clip connections. So if I want to run a wire from point A to point B, I can make a clip connection. You can hot wire a car that way. And this is another one that's probably a good one, but it's old. It comes from back in the 50s, and I believe that may still work. And then I've got the one in there that came out of here that didn't work. So yeah, sometimes I wind up with things that don't really work. Oh well, that's how I roll. So let's put this in here, and the good one is the one I want to use, so I'm going to use that one. Oh, the joy. Now, one thing about this setup is that the engine doesn't need to be running for the air conditioner to be on, which is kind of cool in one way, because like the other day when I was working on it, I was able to turn the air conditioner on inside the cab here without running the engine. Of course, the downside of that would be you'd be running your battery down, and that's kind of a reason why having a gauge up here wouldn't be a bad thing. That's something I'm thinking about. But see, I can turn this on here, and I can turn it on here on the switch, and that's the fan. Now, I didn't hear the compressor come on, but it did feel like cold air coming out, so I'm going to cut it on. Hopefully I'll hear the fan and then the compressor. There's the compressor right there. And I got cold air here. Now, the other day that thing kicked off when I had it running like this. So I may just let it run for a few minutes just to see if it kicks off. And of course, if I want to watch my voltage, I've got this thing right here. And see, it's showing 11.7 now. It was 12.5 before. So it is running the battery, or pulling that much energy off the battery, I should say. But it hadn't kicked off. So what I'm going to do is, I suppose if I wanted to test this wiring I just did, I could cut off the breaker. So when that red thing comes out, the breaker is off. And then it should still cut on because the wire should be, well, if this is off, I'll turn that on. Let's turn this on. Let's turn this on. And then let's turn this on. Whoop, whoop. She went whoop, whoop. Bet she didn't come on. That's interesting. Turn it off. Well, maybe my little wiring setup ain't working. Maybe it's not enough power going through that thing. I don't know. So let's put the breaker back on. Well, the breaker won't go on with that on, so let's turn this off. Now let's put the breaker back on. Now let's turn it back on. Oh, it is back on. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. So maybe I need to step back for a second and take a look. Maybe.